Mike McCool here. I'm in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Captain Jeff Holzbauer and Lieutenant Robbie Seal from the Warren County Sheriff's Office. It's that time again. It's been a little over a month this time. You guys have been so busy, we couldn't get them in here for their monthly chat and bringing us up to date on things from the Sheriff's Office. And this month, it seems like we're going to talk about some drug-related items, from arrests to programs to all sorts of things. So, Jeff, why don't you go ahead and start and kind of fill us in on what the sheriff wants us to know about?
Well, his future and what he's wanting to move forward with, his platform is that he's wanting everybody to know that he's going to be out and about. And if you're here in the county and you have drugs in your mind, or you have ill will to the citizens of Warren County, you're going to have a tough go of it.
It's time to put in that address notification that you're moving.
That's exactly right. He wants everybody to know it's going to be press time, and he wants you to know if you live in Warren County and you're concerned about your welfare and the welfare of your community, he is paying attention, and he is going to be moving forward to do some.
Well, the last conversation I had with Sheriff Butler is he's really concerned that this drug thing is just not getting the attention it needs to get, and he definitely wants to move positive on it, and he's really moving to some programs to do that. So what kind of things then we're going to be looking for next?
Well, he's going to be, along with everybody in our department, is going to be very proactive in their day-to-day chores and how they do things. Going along with that, we have gotten some grants that are going to put us out there in the public's eye.
Okay.
DMV grants. There's 4 parts to these DMV grants, which is DUI. Then we have an aggressive driving portion to those grants. We also have a seatbelt enforcement,
Yep.
which is an educational piece to the enforcement side of it, and so there's a lot of good things that'll come out that'll put us out there in the public's eye, that the monies are there to take part in what we need to be about the business of the county.
Well, I think you mentioned DUIs. I was talking to some person I know and said, I haven't seen you around for a while. And he said, yeah, I've been a guest of the state. And we all know what that means. And he had his 3rd DUI, but he got 2.5 years
Yeah.
for his 3rd
Yeah.
DUI.
Yeah.
And, and he wasn't one of these kind of, it was probably blown just a little over, but still, it don't matter. I mean, they threw I think 2.5 years is throwing the book at somebody, so.
Well, for your 3rd DUI and putting how many countless people in harm's way, there you are. If you've ever had to go and clean that mess up and go do a notification, it's pretty traumatic. What we need to do is get everybody else on board with this drug end.
Well, that's really a drug case in a way. It's just a socially accepted drug.
That's right.
And now we're moving towards a somewhat legalization of marijuana. We've passed some new laws this July. I wanted to ask you about that. And we heard the rumors that, your drug dogs are no good anymore, and you can't stop. I can't smell. You can no longer smell marijuana in the car. So that's how it's being said. So you want to touch on that a little bit? I heard that your drugs don't care about that marijuana. They can track anything.
Our dogs.
Well, good for us. We have a bunch of new dogs, and we have one dog that did sniff marijuana. He's being retired this year.
Right.
That was on the books. That was part of it. So the rest of the ones that we have, the marijuana is not part of their sniff anyway.
Right.
So they're all in the training process now, or have just about completed. So
they're in the fentanyl business.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
You can't say your canine is a designated certified marijuana sniff.
Yeah.
Canine.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
They're the ones that are in trouble, obviously, with the partial legalization of the marijuana.
People can smell the marijuana. We don't need a dog for that, can we?
Well,
Exactly.
and here's the other side to that. We have 2 dogs that are patrol dogs that are for the sniff of illegal narcotics, but we also have 2 that sniff for people, and we have one that
dogs.
sniffs for bombs. So we can go at this any way we need to. Rest assured, I think all bases are covered there.
Well, them dogs are amazing police officers.
They are.
They can do things that just a human just can't do.
They are incredible.
Yeah, we went up to the customs training thing last year or so and watched some demonstrations. I can tell you I went down to a jump school at Fort Benning. If anybody's ever done that, this is back in the late '60s, and the first thing they did was they had everybody stand around there, and they had a leaf of a marijuana plant encapsulated in resin. And they threw that out into the audience. And they said, okay, put that in your pocket. About 30 minutes later, they brought the dogs over, and everybody standing, and them dogs went around and stopped right in front of the guy that had that in his pocket. And then so they said, okay, now we're going to be inspecting your suitcases coming up. So if you've got anything, we suggest that you get rid of it because we will find it. And they demonstrated that test.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's no question that them dogs, I mean, how do you smell that thing encapsulated in the, but you know what? Maybe they sniffed on the resin, but all I know is it scared enough people that if you had it, we were going to find it. So, and that was the whole. Right. I think even today, when the dogs, people show up to the car, if it's a bomb sniffing dog, they don't know that.
Well,
it could be if you got something, they're going to think that dog's going to find it.
Years ago, a funny story. Talking about the customs in their canine program. Of course, years ago they used to have a adoption program for those dogs that didn't make the grade, and of course, the adoption programs for the general public. Well, I remember my dad actually was looking for a dog and heard about the program, so we ended up adopting a chocolate lab from customs. And of course, we always wondered why the dog didn't pass the grade. And then one day my dad called and says, well, I found out why he didn't pass the grade at customs. Why is that, Dad? He says, well, the first thunderstorm, it came, clapped the thunder, couldn't find my dog.
Yeah, that wouldn't work too good in law. Yeah.
He got him back, but that was sort of funny how that...
Yeah. So what else about the grants? Anything else that we're gonna really see the results of these things coming forward in the next few months, I guess.
You will. You'll see more of us. You're going to see some areas of saturation. Of course, you're going to see where we're out doing checking details several places throughout the county, and then you're going to see areas where you just see a lot more officers, and you're going to see a lot more summonses issued out. So.
Like I said, we get those indictments from the court, and we see they have 30 arrests and 27 of them are drug charges, but they're all for like one pill, one joint, one pill, and a lot of times it's the same people that have been arrested 3 times that month.
Right.
They're felonies, but it's just like, really? I mean, it's like. We're not going after. What about the next level up? Why it seems like when everybody says, "Well, I know who's doing it," and they always say, "Well, we all know who's doing it,"
right.
But they never seem to get arrested. Or are we using? Brought up too about they're making these guys CIs, and then so they're letting them still continue to work. To hopefully they're going to get. That's the rumor I hear.
Well, now you're getting a little further in than what I can speak on.
Oh, okay.
But what
you cannot confirm nor deny.
You got that. But what I can say is that we will be out and about in the public and putting the best foot forward to try and help.
Well, I'm going to start looking at the indictments for the next every month, and I want to see if we get more than an occasional user.
Well,
I know you want to say something.
I'm trying to be good here because when I get on a roll, I get on a roll. Everybody knows that. But
loose lips sink ships.
That's true. That's true. But I got something to talk about later on in our talk here. But going back and what you just mentioned, Mike, with the sheriff's initiative, from the day one of his campaign, and hearing the people out there in the in the front row of Warren County area, and not only in our area, our town, our county, but everywhere across the nation, you have the opioid drug epidemic, and that's something that he premised that he was going to fight, and along with our involvement with the the Northwest Regional Drug Task Force, our SPADE unit, which we talked for previous talks, and we actually doing Captain's doing some research as well as other some of our other administrators on a big initiative that we're looking to involving more on the road enforcement, mobile enforcement on drug interdiction. So that's in the works. Doing a lot of research on that to hopefully implement that program down the road, which we think if it happens, it's going to it's going to really, really, and I can't emphasize the word really, combat the drug issues that are traveling through our roads here.
Because we're a transient area. But the things you talk about, people are tired of talking about it, but
Oh, yeah.
it takes a lot of pre-planning to do these things, and it'll go along at a slow ramp, and all of a sudden, wham, it'll go up, and I think we'll see the results, because I know the sheriff is really, it's a priority.
Oh, it is.
And it's a priority in our country. I mean, the public is just getting tired of it.
Yeah.
And it's costing us lots of money, it's costing us lives, it's costing a disruption of our, and then you add the pandemic on top of it.
yeah.
I think we know what the cases are. We heard that at the last council meeting or the town board of supervisors when sheriff spoke about opioid overdoses. We had counting the town and county like 47, high up in the 40s, and since in a month, and compared to COVID. We had more opioid deaths than we've had COVID deaths, and cases. So it's a serious thing, and it affects not just the drug user, but the whole community and the families and law enforcement, and it's a serious problem.
On that note, I did bring. Of course, I showed you some numbers there.
Sure.
That I was sent with, but I do want everybody to know that since the sheriff has been in office, and we can show you these numbers, they're hard numbers, the numbers of overdoses have dropped significantly in the
Right.
county. Now, they've gone up in the town or stayed the same in the town.
Right.
But we have been applying pressure, and of course we're just getting our feet underneath of us good to where we can go, but the numbers in the county are, with what we've done, are seeming to work. So, long story short, things do work. You just got to stay with them.
Right. Of course, you have the concentration of the population in the town, and that social economic portion that has a tendency to have a higher rate
Is there.
are in the town.
That's right.
So, we know that's going to happen, but you work with the police department, and the sheriff's department really patrols the whole county, even the town, when it comes to the drug thing. I know that they're...
We do a lot in town, and not taking anything from the town, but we work well with the town. But we're going to be in the town.
Right.
When it's something that comes from the county to the town, or from the town to the county, or
Right.
we have to drive through the town every day to get to and from the office, we're not going to look the other way,
Right.
regardless of what's going on.
You got to watch Jeff's car, because it's unmarked.
Well, it seems like I'm driving something different from place to place.
Used to be a car.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we won't go there.
Yeah.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Is it time for Robbie?
Well, it can be. It can be. Well,
You can just jump in, just like I jump in every so often. So,
well, there you go.
but we're still talking. We're still talking on the subject of drugs.
Same subject. So go right ahead.
Yeah. Well,
Jump
thank
in
you.
there.
Thank you. Well, Mike, good to be back.
I
Yeah,
appreciate you
I was
coming.
wondering where you've been all this time, but but I'm glad we finally got a day that we could sit and talk about what we're doing with the sheriff's office. But as far as me, there's a big event. We've been talking about the drug issues and everything. Well, we're still going to talk about the drug issues. Only this time, we're talking about how to get rid of your drugs. In fact, there is a big. I just got the word last week. There's an event that the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, puts on every year, twice a year actually. It's usually in April and October, and it's basically one of their DEA National Drug Take-Back Days. And so, of course, back in April when COVID was just, ramping up and everything, they canceled it. But here last week, I got word that they actually have it on for this fall, and this fall being this month being this Saturday, so
Oh, wow.
October 24th.
Well, we don't have many days.
And I've been, I just got word last week, so I've really been busy trying to utilize all the outlets that I can to get the word out. Generally, the DEA makes their announcement that they're going to have this drug take-back day. It's actually a means for citizens across the Commonwealth to safely, it's probably the number one way to get rid of your old medicines.
Yeah, please do not flush them down the toilet.
Because in general, we talk about drugs and the actual dealers out there that deal drugs and everything. In essence, and it's an interesting statistic, we as a society, we as people, those that have medicines, we vicariously can be dealers ourselves, not criminally, but accidentally. Why? Interesting statistic, from the 2018 statistic from the National Survey on Drug Use. 9.9 million Americans misuse controlled prescription drugs. And that's usually by means of helping themselves, family members,
Sure.
friends, helping themselves to unused medications in the family home.
Yeah.
What I read, when I was talking to my doctor about some of these drugs, and I said, well, I've heard that, I said, I take this drug, and I thought, it doesn't do anything to me. He said, well, you're not using it like they do. They grind it up, doing and snorting things that you would normally take orally that you probably have no side effects from, but they're taking common drugs that, not taken the proper way, gives a high or whatever they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's amazing that the drugs that do that,
Exactly.
that we wouldn't relate to being, like you said, it's in the medicine cabinet. I take that every day. It doesn't seem like it's a drug, that
Right.
I don't get high on it. He said, yeah, but the way they use it, they'll get high on it.
And exactly, and addicted to it. And of course, when we start talking about that, then we're going around the round circle effect of crime. It escalates crime activity out there. Obviously, to supply their habit if they no longer get the drugs from the family member in the home. So,
and they'll try any drug.
Yeah, it's unbelievable the amount of people that really get addicted and really involved in the drugs just through the home. Taking medications from family that no longer use it. So this event, DEA Drug Take Back Day, is actually again this coming Saturday, October 24th. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's going to be at the Valley Health. Actually, Sheriff's Office hosted along with Valley Health. They're at their urgent care facility at 120 North Commerce Avenue. So I will be there, and of course Valley Health personnel will be there as well. So we'll be collecting, your prescriptions. A lot of people have asked us, what is some of the medications, obvious medications that can be brought. Of course, all your old prescription drug medicines, they could be in your bottles. I'd advise you can peel the label off with your name, address information, that sort of thing, or redact it, black it out, that sort of thing. But you can bring it that way. And which includes opioids. Now, the one thing I will, and I'll have a list here, the things that will not be taken back. A lot of people have asked this about inhalers.
Right.
Whether they can bring their inhalers. That's one of the things that we will not take is inhalers, such as those for asthma, aerosol cans, mercury thermometers, iodine-containing medications, and of course illegal drugs or substances, which they say include marijuana. It's still listed as Schedule 1. But going on the other one that also lists as we will not take back for the purposes of, because when we collect all these drugs, we put them in bags issued by the DEA. And after the event at 2 o'clock, then I have to truck all these bags of collected medicines back to the Virginia State Police headquarters in Culpeper, their District 2 office. So that's where all the agencies in District 2 that are involved is hosting a drug take-back site event. We'll take all the drugs back to Culpeper that day. The one thing we will not take, but Valley Health will, they'll have sharp boxes. Sharps are what? Sharps are needles, syringes and everything. So we will not take them back as far as to the DEA, but Valley Health has sharp boxes there. So yes, if you have needles that you want to discard and everything, there'll be Valley Health representatives there with sharp boxes to be able to safely put those in.
And I do know they have a drop box out there inside the hospital too. You can just go and drop them off, no questions asked, and they just stick them in there, and they'll give you a new sharp box.
Yeah, exactly.
And do that, something that they're real critical. And one of the reasons too about the aerosols, I think, is because they incinerate all these drugs.
Absolutely.
And that's not really good to throw an aerosol can in the incinerator.
No.
And they can't go through. They're not going to go through and look at all this stuff. They typically goes right out of the bag, right in the incinerator. So they rely on you on the front end to make sure they're not in there. So,
and generally, when it comes to inhalers and everything, even during the year, there are drugs that you can safely dispose of at home, and there's guidelines on how to do that. Of course, when you get prescription drugs from your pharmacy, or you obviously filled out by your physician and your pharmacy fills it out for you. There's directions. We all, we get the
Sure.
directions with the medication out of it, but there's also, in case you didn't know it, the proper way of disposing of that as well. And the FDA has a list when they talk about what is the right way to dispose of your medications. Of course, if there's a take back drug event site, that's the best way. But there are certain drugs that you can safely dispose of at home. One of the things that you don't want to do, and this is very important, is flush your drugs down the toilets.
Oh, please don't do that.
There's only, if you go on the FDA site, which is www.fda.gov, you get on their web page, it is an invaluable resource. They have everything. They have what they call a flush list, the drugs that you can flush, and anything that's not on that list is a no-no. So generally, and one thing about inhalers, going back on inhalers, if there is no drug take-back event happening anytime soon, the best means to get rid of your inhalers is take it back to your local pharmacies. They have the means to be able to dispose of them the right way, because they're considered really hazardous material.
Sure they
for
are.
the most part. So,
Yeah,
we're looking forward to it. It's actually my first go at hosting. The sheriff's department has done it in years past, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll have a good turnout.
Let me hold up this.
Oh yes,
Let me hold
I
up the poster because Mark's going to zoom in on this poster right here.
Yeah, it's the DEA's actually new their slogan this year. It's very appropriate, like we first discussed. Don't be the dealer. As a individual that keeps their a lot of medications at home, get rid of them.
You got that,
Absolutely.
Mark? Got that in there good? So we'll get a scan of that and
All
put
right.
that on there as well.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate
and we'll
that.
put all this information in the story and to get it pushed out
Okay.
to our readers.
Right.
And if you're not a subscriber to the Royal Examiner, please do.
Yes.
And get on there and get on our list and our instant notifications. So there's a lot of great things coming up on the Royal Examiner. And we try to get all this information out. That's why we have you in here every month.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of interesting things. And some not interesting things, but most of the time it's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially Jeff's part.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
interesting.
Oh no, the interesting part.
That's right.
We're talking about something.
That's right.
So what else is on the horizon that we're going to look for?
Well, I want everybody to know, along with the sheriff, election season's here. It's on us, as you well know.
As I well know, 14 more days.
14 more days. The sheriff is going over and beyond to make sure that everybody is safe. He wants everybody to get out and vote. Do your duty as a citizen, and let's vote.
That's right.
Let's get it done. So he wants you to know that he will be out and around along with everybody on his force. And if something should arise, we'll be right close to you. So we've spoke with several of the election officials, and there is plans in place to take care of any issues that would arise, but don't feel that there's going to be any. We haven't had anything to suggest that there's going to be any problems. Let's make it a good first Tuesday of the month.
Well, I seen at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, the sheriff passed out a few awards, and that's always a good thing to recognize
Oh yes.
things of your employees, and they were doing a great job.
He did. We had 2 deputies that got the MAD award out of our office. They both tied, the 2 that got it tied, I believe it was 40 DUIs apiece, which was outstanding. Then we had another lady that got an award. So yeah, we did. We handed out some pretty good awards there, and we had another gentleman that got one. So we did, and it's a good thing when you can, in the times that we're going through, still have deputies that step out of their way to go over and above and beyond for the community that they're in. It's a good thing.
It's good. You have to be passionate about things that you do without, nowadays the law enforcement is like in the spotlight for, not to be overzealous in their work. But at the same time, I'm sure that has really discouraged a lot of law enforcement officers to see the press that they've got over maybe a very isolated instance in the country. Out of the how many hundreds of thousands of law enforcement officers, there are bound to be 1 or 2 bad apples in the bunch. and but it's really, I'm sure, affected law enforcement officers and just how people treat them. Speaking of which, we've had an event here in the last month that have treated law enforcement's really good. Our Back to Blue.
Oh yeah.
I'm
absolutely.
sorry it wasn't blue, back to brown, but
Well, we're still. We are. I mean, to me, it's the same color.
Yeah.
It
the all
really
bleed
is.
blue, right? Is that what
that's
they
right.
say?
That's right. And
but
just
that thing
because of the
came about pretty quick, and started off with 30 cars maybe, and ended up with about 120. I counted 127, some said 117, but I counted with Mark, we were out there, 127 I think was the count we had.
Yeah.
And I mean, that happened in just a few hours' time.
Yeah.
It went, and...
That's right. That's right, because we had that event. That's the last time
That's
actually we really never had a
And we'll go,
occasion to talk about it.
Hats off to Tim Radigan and him and getting this stuff started. And the signs are still popular. If you want a sign that says, support, we support our law enforcement officers, the sheriff and the police department, you can get hold of Tim Radigan. But I also have some here I kept back from the last batch.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I have gotten phone calls.
Where can I get it? Where can I get it?
Yes, everybody thinks we have the signs.
Right,
and
right.
No, we don't have the signs.
They don't toot their own horn.
Yeah, no, not at all. And not at all. But
we do have a handful here, and we can get more. So he is asking for a $15 donation to help cover the cost because
he's paid that.
He's paid that, and the police foundation has helped with it. But he gives away more than he gets the money for.
Right.
So that kind of breaks it even on the cost of the signs and. But it's been very positive in the community.
Very
you see them all over the place.
It really just emphasizes what I've said in many times in our previous talks, and just out there in the general public doing my thing, as the community guy, and the support we have in this community is unbelievable to law enforcement. It really is. I can't emphasize that enough. Every day I get out there and. I was one of 5 brothers that didn't serve in the armed forces. My service to my country was through my community and law enforcement. The 35 years that I've done this, but it's amazing when people they see this uniform and they express their appreciation for our service, much like our veteran that serves in armed forces. So it's very humbling, very appreciative. The thing I hate, though, more than anything, the thing I hate more than anything when we're talking about support is...
Now, it's not all bad.
Well, I can't... every once in a great while, if I go out to eat and I'm ready to pay my bill, my waitress comes up to me and says it's been taken care of by an anonymous individual that saw us in there. And I get so upset because I want to thank these people so much, tell them they didn't have to do that, and they disappear on you not wanting to be recognized. But that's an example, Mike, of the support.
And it's not that we underpay you.
No.
But it is a token of appreciation.
Well, yeah, it is. And but it's just, again, an example of, we don't ask by any means. We're not people that look for the attention at all.
No.
We go out there and we do a job. This is what we want to do and what we put in our hearts and minds to do. And we take it day by day, and we really, in a sense, realize what we're doing out there and what we do. But it really hits home when you see that coming back, and you take a step back and you go, wow. I mean, I must be making some sort of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it happens a lot.
Yeah.
It does happen a lot.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the sheriff says no more gathering at the restaurants of these between the breaks. So he said, no more 10 officers because people say these guys aren't working. They're all over here at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Just a very safe Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Well, 7-Eleven. I can remember years ago. I mean, the 7-Elevens would give free coffee to the. Oh, you got to cut that out.
Yeah.
But they wanted you to stop
That's right.
at 3 o'clock in the morning.
A lot of them do.
They want you to stop at 3 o'clock in the morning and stop at the 7-Eleven.
The one thing I found out too, and it's a knock, just like we're always going to have that with the stereotypical.
Well, I do know.
With the donut.
Well, I do know the person that brings the donuts over to the sheriff's office.
Oh yeah.
And we know who he is.
Yeah. But the thing of it is that I sort of counter that, and I'm not a donut eater by any means, but I'm not every day, not every week. Once in a great
can't-
while. Okay, you got me. Once in a great while. I'll take one a week. But
One a week.
but
You know the truth.
when we stop in, much like you said, when we stop in stores and talk with people, it's not just the person at the store we're talking to. It's all the other citizens, the patrons that come in, patronize that store and then have questions for law enforcement they've always wanted to ask.
Sure.
If they ever saw a law enforcement officer other than maybe being stopped.
Or in their rear view mirror.
Yeah, exactly. But and that's and my goodness, a lot of my conversations occur meeting
Sure.
people here and there with their daily life doing so.
Well, that brings up the next topic that I want to talk about, and that's want to talk again about community policing.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, this is an election time, and we've been discussing this among the candidates that are running for town council. And the topic that keeps coming up is community policing. And what has happened, not so much on the sheriff or the police department's part, but on the public and the support of the community. We used to have these police cadets running around, and we had community activities and an academy to go to. And the talk is that we really want to revitalize this neighborhood watch programs, our community policing from the citizens' point of view, as well as the procedures that the police and the sheriff does already. And occasionally we had the council has said, we want the police to walk on Main Street. And they would send somebody that had no passion for walking on Main Street, and it'd last about a week. And what happened? Well, we're still doing it, but I haven't seen anybody. And you mentioned talking to people. Part of it is being in the community so people will talk to you.
You can get me started on something here, but
I mean, am I in the right direction?
You're in the right, and I'll tell you, I'll go further with that because where I learn, I've always been a community guy. I love talking with people, but I really learned what community policing was all about. Really, what it was all about when I actually I got hired at the police department as their community resource officer. And what did I do? Is I got involved. Every community, every township, city, county has their community and everything
Right.
that's involved in their community. All the organizations, businesses, what have you, that make up that entity. And with a lot of communities, there's organizations that are involved with community support. And what I had learned is, if you really want to do community policing right, yes, some of the things that you mentioned exactly, you got to get out there, you got to talk to people, you got to get out there and walk and talk, you got to get out there and just get involved. And one of the biggest ways I got involved was, hey, there's organizations out here. I always knew of these organizations, but when people ask me, where can you refer me to get help? Maybe food or a place to sleep or some place that helps children, have substance abuse issues, that sort of thing. And you have these organizations that are in our community, but all we knew was, you can go to Warren. I'll just mention Warren Coalition.
Or CCAP or something.
Or CCAP, places
Right.
like that, but that's all I knew about them. So what I ended up doing was I got involved. I became a board member. I got really involved. We talk about our organizations, domestic violence organizations like the Phoenix Project, the Laurel
Right.
Center. Law enforcement really got involved with them as far as the helping with their advocacy.
Well, you're the first point of contact on a lot of these
Yeah.
cases.
And these organizations, obviously, when you sit at these board meetings and you're seeing and when you sit at these meetings, you are carrying on a conversation with other members of this board that come from all walks of life, are involved with their own professions, that are tied into the same mindset
Sure.
as everybody else, what they want to do for their community. And so you're really sharing a lot of ideas, a lot of strengths of everybody that's around you, and it just enhances the image of everyone in that room, including law enforcement, because now you're really a part of the community.
Exactly.
And you're being a face and a voice for what they want to see. A lot of people told me, we've always wanted to see a law enforcement representative in our organization. So that's a very vital means that I learned of how to get involved.
Well, and it goes back to when, you always about the children, you teach your children that it's okay to talk to the police. They're here to help you. Mm-hmm. And we've got almost to our community now is, don't talk to the police, but that we realize that, they're out there, it's a service job. a lot of times people say it's not all about arresting bad guys. There's a lot of safety, there's a lot of community things. It's just a larger area than what people really realize. Again, you're the first, I'll call it a first responder. Who's the first person on the scene of any activity? It's the police.
Yes.
The law enforcement officer shows up.
And we have a lot of things that we face on that side. Is how do you help your community? I mean, we all sit and look and know there's a great big drug problem, but where do they go when they walk out of the jail? Where do they go in between times? Where does that person go if they're not tangled up with the law, but there is a drug problem?
Right.
So we as a community have some big issues to overcome. And I wanted to touch back on that because you had said about back to blue. But at some point, and I know the sheriff stands behind this 100%, it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, what your family is, what your status is. I can assure you the sheriff will be here, the sheriff's office will be here for everyone. I don't care how you vote, how you don't vote, what you do, what you don't do. If you're in need, the sheriff will be here for you. And I can tell you, as a community, we've got a lot of growing to do, but we also have a very good community with a lot of people that are salt of the earth.
Right.
So we can make some good steps forward, but we all have to be involved in making those good steps forward.
Well, law enforcement is just not all about arresting people.
No, it's not.
That's really the smallest part of your job. I mean,
it's a very small portion.
Really, when you talk about arresting people and doing the enforcement aspect of it, other than maybe the patrol aspect of it,
right?
And we still get help in that respect from citizens, but for the most part, our citizens are our partners.
Right.
That's what true community policing is. It is law enforcement partnering with the citizens in your community. Plain and simple.
That's it.
That's plain and simple.
And you'll hear the sheriff say that a lot. Our
Yeah.
job is actually very simple. You just have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And be there.
And be there. Be a part of it.
Be there and be out and about. That's why you see them in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Well, chivalry is not dead because I know that the deputies have changed a lot of flat tires.
Well, they have. And listen, you'll find the more that you get to be out here with us and see, we've got a good crew of people. Everybody from the first person to the last person. If there's a need and they can help somebody, they're going to do it. They're going to go out of their way to do it.
Right.
We take calls all week long where this deputy's done this for that person or this or that. Or
I see things posted on social media about things just like that are happening and giving the kudos out to our law enforcement officers.
Yeah.
Even a few to the police department, but here in this particular situation, we're going to say it all goes to the sheriff, but we know that's not 100% true. Cale does a good job.
He does a real good job.
Yeah.
He does.
I'm trying to, but I get 2 to 1. I mean, you guys come for every 2 times before I get him in there. And you know what he told me? We're just so busy. We don't have time like the sheriff. They just sit around and eat donuts. So.
Oh Lordy, here we go. Should have known.
He's actually making me hungry.
No, I'm just trying to add a little. Of course, someone will make a comment about it on Facebook that we talked about. But that's okay.
But and it just reminds me, before we end, some of the things that we do. I mean, we talk about partnering. I talk about partnering with the community. Just was the other week. Of course, I'm big with nextdoor.com,
right.
which is a good port, neighborhood watch portal to keep in touch with the neighbors. And I had this lady and of course I'm big, that did a survey on people that had doorbell cameras, and just kind of get an idea because generally we can utilize that. With their permission, in case there's crime in a neighborhood, we can utilize citizens' cameras with their permission to track down, anybody, doing the dirty deed in a neighborhood.
Sure.
So there was this lady that contacted me, texted me back. That was several weeks ago. We finally hooked up last week as far as me being able to do it for her. But she had a Ring doorbell camera. She purchased over a year. But could not get anybody to put it in for her. So I told her, I said, ma'am, let me do this. I said, I will come out there, and I have some experience of putting it in, those type of things in. I said, I will come out there, as a service of your local sheriff's office and do that, just that for you. Really? I was going to pay you. I said, no. I mean, could you see the conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Watch this, watch this. I have a Ring doorbell sitting
I
downstairs.
knew that was coming.
Seriously, I have one. It's not been installed yet.
Well, we can put it in for you, absolutely.
Well, it's like the fire department. They'll put in smoke detectors if you have that
Yeah.
issue, and if you can't, they want you to have smoke detectors.
Yeah.
You want people to be safe,
Yeah.
and that's just what it takes to do it. Because
Yeah.
you know what, in the long run, it's a deterrent.
Yeah.
It is.
And
Yeah.
if you can deter it, it may not happen. And I think it's good for everybody.
Yep. Exactly.
Well,
So-
I think we've ran out of time because we just talked too much.
Well, we made up for lost times. And,
That's right. You skipped a couple weeks.
You missed
but,
a month. So.
You know, we got to cut the donut part out so it doesn't. It'll shorten it a little bit.
Right.
But you guys take it. You can take
I
the
love
abuse.
I do need to know who's the fellow bringing the donuts. You said you knew who brought them.
Blaine Keller.
Blaine
Yeah.
Keller.
You know, he's eaten
Yeah.
a few donuts, but he goes around. I mean, I'm going to give credit to Blaine. He treats people really well, and he goes around and he supports the
He does.
law enforcement, and he really. I mean, it is like he's right at the top,
Yeah,
and
he
he'll
is
do.
he's very
supportive.
Very
and,
supportive.
We'll give him a plug. That's
Yep.
Blaine Keller, Keller's Insurance. If you're over 65 years of old, be sure you see Blaine Keller.
He's a good man. He's a very good man.
So anyway, he takes care of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good people.
There's a lot of good people in this
Tremendous
community.
people. out
We
there.
just don't know about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're gonna. And they don't want you to know about them.
And that's
They
just
don't.
it. They
They
don't.
don't.
They don't.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of good things we try to report on, and
Nah.
please don't.
Yeah.
Please don't. Don't mention
was-
my names. It's Mr. Anonymous.
We get that a lot.
We do.
They're gone. We can't
Yeah.
even say thanks to
That's
them.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say thanks to you gentlemen for coming in.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thank you,
it
Mike.
so much, and I think the community enjoys it. Hopefully we try to do it in a light conversational style, but hopefully the message gets out.
Oh, I think so. I think people appreciate the naturalness of a conversation.
Well,
so.
I hope so.
So
and you're good for ratings, so we really not so much here. But
Well,
with that, we'll say
No,
goodbye
I
again.
think
Thanks
that's
again, Robbie and Jeff, and I really appreciate. Say hi to the sheriff for us.
I will.
And maybe we'll get him here next time. We'll get the sheriff.
We're going to get him
come
in
in
here.
and we'll-
Yeah.
and we'll do that.
He's due. So
He's due.
He's
It's
due.
time to beat him up a little bit.
Yes,
but
indeed.
He's good. Well, maybe after the election,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
All right.
Again,
Yeah.
thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
thank you.